Welcome everyone for this session called A Hint of NoSQL into my Java EE. So a few words about me. I'm Guillaume Scheibel. I'm a software engineer at Capgemini in France. I'm also co-leading the Alsace JUG, which is basically the JUG for the Strasbourg area. And I'm an open source contributor on two projects. The first one is InfiniSpan. I have created the cache store based on MongoDB, and Hibernate OGM, and I have also founded the Hibernate OGM module for MongoDB. If you want to follow me, if you want to see what I'm coding on and so on, you can use Twitter or GitHub and whatever. Okay, so let's talk about ecosystems. One of the things I don't hear the most during conferences is about ecosystems, because yes, some libraries or some platforms are very cool, but it's just for one application. People are always showing one application. But in real life, for real application, we have plenty of ecosystems. Actually, we have two ecosystems. The first ones, if you are based on Java EE, you have JPA and JTA. You have probably some CDI, some JAX-RS, hopefully unit tests, from unit test to end-to-end test, and probably databases. The other ecosystems I want to talk about is the rest of the world. We have teams. We don't have in our teams rockstar developers, definitely not. We have junior developer, we have great developer, and so on. We have needs. I'm working for a client, so I need to fit my client's needs. I need to know if a platform is needful for me. And there is other applications. How do I integrate with other applications? That's basically the first part of the way we are choosing some libraries, some new technology. Now, here we are Java developers, most of us. We are doing probably some Java EE stuff. And what can we do? Learning a new SQL or new NoSQL data store is tough. We have to fit to a new paradigm. And how can it fit to Java EE? Because we won't rewrite all our application just to use Mongo, to use Redis, and so on. Talking about NoSQL. How many of you doesn't know anything about NoSQL? So, few of you. Basically, we have four kinds of NoSQL data store. The first one, on the upper left corner, is the graph store. It's great to modelize something like friends of my friends for social network and so on. It's really powerful and really easy. On the upper right corner, you have document solutions, document data stores. Basically, you take JSONs, and it's the same kind of storing. Most of them are schemaless, so you can have people or persons. Some can have names, first names. Other documents can have name and phone number and so on. It's really easy. Then you have on the bottom left corner key value stores. Basically, it's an hash map between a key and a value. You can put whatever you want in a key, whatever you want in a value. And you have column-oriented, which is the last one. You take the approach of a key and you mix them like the document, and basically that's the column-oriented. The point is, it's really hard to choose a data store provider because there are more difference between, let's say, MongoDB and Couchbase than between MongoDB and MySQL. So now on, you have SQL data stores. With SQL data stores, every feature is basically the same. You have just particular things between Oracle, MySQL, and so on. But with NoSQL data stores, you have to choose, you have to learn, you have to really get deep into the system. And now comes Hibernate OGM. Hibernate OGM is a proof of concept for the moment, I would say. The idea is, as Hibernate ORM did with SQL, is it possible to have a high layer abstraction on top of NoSQL data store? It started with InfiniSpan, which is a key value. Then came EhCache. I have created the MongoDB data store, and now we just have released it 2 weeks ago, I think. We have a starting implementation for Neo4j. The idea is you have your JPA modeling, and how can we fit it to NoSQL solution? Of course, we will have some tricks. We have some way to do things because we can't take an entity and map it directly to a key value. We have to do some things, but I will show them. So let's play through the demo. Here's the technology in my demo. I'm using a really simple application built with AngularJS for the front end, running on JBoss AS7. Of course, I could run it on Tomcat or Glassfish 3, not the 4th version, because the 4th version of Glassfish is running with JPA 2.1, and here we are compliant with JPA 2.0. And the first part is built with MySQL and Hibernate ORM. And I will switch to MongoDB and OGM. So here's my application. I'm going to run the server. My JBoss server is running. We have some SQL statement, and I just need to redeploy. It's the old version. And here we are. Okay, so I have inserted a lot of few entities into my SQL. You are probably familiar with that. And the application, I'm going to run it, is really easy, really simple. It's just a table with some conferences, some presentation I've proposed or have talked about, and that's it. Okay? It's just a many-to-many relationship. I can show you my code here. I have some conferences, so really basic JPA entity with an ID, a property called name, a many-to-many with the presentations. About presentations, here I have another entity, really basic. I think we all know JPA model, and I'm not going to talk about it. So now, how can I make it usable from or with MongoDB? First thing that I have to do, I'm going to close here things. In my persistence XML, I'm going to get rid of my data source, because this is a JDBC-like data source. We are talking about OGM and MongoDB, so I can't use it. So first part, I will switch to Hibernate OGM. I'm choosing a new provider, which is Hibernate OGM Persistence. The idea is we take Hibernate core for the mapping and all these kind of things, and just for the persistence part and the queries, we are switching to OGM with MongoDB dialect, with EhCache dialect and so on. Because now I'm on the OGM world, I can delete all these properties, all these SQL properties. How can I use MongoDB instead of EhCache? That's really easy. I have, for MongoDB, or for any data store provider on top of OGM, we have first a property called Hibernate OGM, data store provider, and I just have to set it to MongoDB, infinite span, EhCache, or Neo4j. And then we have specific properties, like here for MongoDB, I have Hibernate OGM MongoDB database, which is the database I'm going to get access to. We can have security properties like the username, the password, and so on. And that's it. Actually, that's it for the persistence XML. New things I have to do is, because I'm using JBoss AS7, and this is totally specific to JBoss AS7, I'm using the module system of JBoss AS7. So I have to add a manifest file. No, it's not here. It's OGM. And I have to set into my manifest file that I'm depending on the OGM module and the OGM MongoDB module. That's, again, really specific to JBoss AS. If you are using Glassfish, just like if you have done with the Hibernate ORM, you have to add all the dependencies into your POM file, and it will work. So now I have my manifest file, I have my persistent file, and that's it. Let's try. So I have here MongoDB running, and I'm going to redeploy. This one. Okay, it has been deployed successfully. Here we can see on the logs, we are using OGM. Okay? So what I've done, I have just switched my persistence XML to another provider, added some properties, and that is really it. Because the jars are already in the class path thanks to JBoss AS, I don't have many things to do. Let's see if the application is still working. And the application is still working. Oh, I should have something already in my data store. But that's not a problem. Okay? So here on, I have changed anything into my application, my Java code, and just make a switch. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, the MongoDB module. That's one of the most I'm the most familiar with because I've started it 2 years ago. And just for a story, I was here 2 years ago at Devoxx 11 listening to Emmanuel Bernard talking about OGM, and there was no MongoDB thing. And a few months ago when I came to say, okay, I'm starting to play with MongoDB, I would like to use it or with some JPI application, with some Java EE application. How can we do? Of course, we have Eclipse Link, we have Spring Data, and I've seen OGM, and that's how came the OGM module and the MongoDB. So the MongoDB module, it's using the MongoDB Java driver. That's really important. We are not reinventing the wheel. We are using what MongoDB is providing us. Queries. We are starting to make queries usable. You can use native queries, and we are starting to have a support for JPL queries, JPQL. but for the moment, they are really limited to the Hibernate session. I'm working on the improvement to make them usable from the entity manager. It will come very soon. And later on, we will have more query capabilities. The options, as I said, you can have you have plenty of options depending on the data store provider and the underlying data store provider. With document-oriented data store, we can have storage strategy. I'll talk about it later. We have some security stuff, username, password, the timeout for queries. We have the write consent that is typically a MongoDB thing. Basically, it's the acknowledgement when the server sends a request. Does it wait for the acknowledgement or not? It really depends. For this write consent, you just have to use the same as you would have done with the MongoDB driver. So journal, journal safe, none, and so on. I think there are like 8 of them. You can use them directly. The associations. It's always not a pain, but it's always difficult to modelize, to have a real proper implementation for associations. Because with document-oriented, what should I do? Should I use embedded documents? Should I use like foreign key stuff? And if I use foreign key, how do I get information, navigable information? If I use embedded documents, how can I update all those embedded documents? It's really, really hard to find the proper way. We didn't have this kind of question with SQL because it was always foreign key. So now with document solution, we have to reinvent and to remodelize our applications to fit and to have the best way to do that. So in the MongoDB module, we have a first property, only one property, I should say, Hibernate OGM MongoDB association stores. And that's the way you're going to try to, you're going to say, OK, the dialect, switch from one strategy to another. We have actually 3 strategies. In entity to global collections. For the moment, when you set a strategy, it's set for all the application. We'll try to make it usable from association, between associations. Say, OK, I have this association, make it use the in-entity mode. I have another one, make it use the collection mode. But what are the strategies? What are those strategies? The first one, in entity, is the default one. Basically, we are storing information navigation inside of an array or a document or an embedded document. Here, I'm dumping the document inside of the MongoDB conference collection. I have my conference ID, the name of the conference, Devoxx France, and 2 presentations. I don't store directly the document presentation, but only the way to navigate from the current conference to its related presentation. That's the first part. Here, and then we have the collections. Collections is we're going to create per association, one collection per association. So if I take a look at my conference collection, I just have the document with standard and basic properties. So the ID, the name. And I'm going to have some collections starting with association underscore and both name of the part of the relation. So in this example, association presentation conference. And in this collection, I will have the way I can navigate from a conference to a presentation and vice versa. Because, of course, we are supporting unidirectional and bidirectional associations. Then we have the global collection, which is really simple. You take the collection mode, but instead of having one collection per association, we only have one global collection, and each document represents a way to navigate from an entity to another. One thing I didn't mention, but is kind of obvious, is we do support from one-to-one entity or association to many. So you take all the JPA model that you know, and you can use it directly. It's pretty straightforward. Last thing, something about magic. Is OGM a silver bullet or magic wand? Definitely not. You have to learn a lot about your use cases. OGM doesn't fit to all use cases. Like using the driver, for instance, the MongoDB driver doesn't fit to all use cases because it's really, I would say, low level. But having a high-level abstraction like Hibernate OGM doesn't fit to all use cases. Like ORMs with JPA doesn't fit to all use cases with SQL databases. Okay? Again, learn your underlying data store provider. It's really important, and OGM won't make it magical for you. You have more problem with using OGM without knowing the underlying data store provider than knowing really it. Of course, don't trust me, never. Try it. OGM is still in work in progress. We are making a lot of improvement. Come, give us some feedback, make some proposition. If you want to run it in production, you can. I don't say I will do, but you are adults, so please. Of course, feedbacks are more than welcome. As I said, the actual version is 4.0.0-snapshot, so you have to be careful about that. But that is really a great project. If in the data stores I've shown you, you don't have your favorite data store provider, come and contribute. It's really easy. Basically, if I've done that, you can make it too. It's really easy. You have few implementations and a bunch of unit tests to see if you are going well or not. Do you have some questions? Yes?
What's happening if you say it doesn't fit all the cases? For example, what's happening if you say 120 in, there are three entities, 120, 120, 120.
Yes?
What's happening? What the OGM mapping does? Because it's interesting. I'm a little bit afraid that it loads all the...
Okay.
He loaded each thing because normally you have to, in a relational databases, it's loaded lazy, by the lazy way.
Okay.
It's going to load it on each array, not loaded, but...
So the question is, if I have three entities, A, B, C, A is related to B, B is related to C, how works the fetching mode and so on? Basically, just like with JPA and Hibernate OGM. So if you say, I'm using a fetch mode eager, it will bring back the other part of the association. If you are using lazy, it will use proxy. one thing I didn't mention is about transaction. We have JTA, but most of the NoSQL data store are not using transaction. Here with Hibernate OGM we are doing transaction mode as long as we are in the OGM world, and once we are in the NoSQL world, it's up to the NoSQL engine. And one other thing I didn't mention is about queries. Querying a key value store, I mean, querying some property in the value of a key value store is not possible directly. So what we are doing for you is we are indexing properties. If the data store provider doesn't give any query capabilities, we are indexing the entity with Hibernate search. So we can bring you some query capabilities even for, I would say, key value store. Any other questions? Yep.
Can you name a use case where this OGM doesn't fit?
So the question is, can I give use cases when OGM fits? Doesn't fit? Let's say, first, when you have a lot of really specific queries to do, I would say with MongoDB, it will be some MapReduce things. OGM doesn't fit to all that cases when you really have to use specific and really specific things with the driver. Even if we are using, and you can retrieve the DB collection from OGM, there is a little thing to do. I would say really specific use cases with the driver doesn't fit to OGM for the moment. Any other questions? One thing I didn't mention too is about embedded documents, because all I've shown you today is about how to navigate from an entity to another one. If I want to use embedded document, and I can, I just have to use, let me show you. All I have to do is to use here this annotation element collection, which is a JPA annotation, and with that, here I'm using it with a string, but I can use an entity, and with that, with MongoDB, we are directly storing it as an embedded document, or an array of embedded documents. It depends. So if you want to use embedded or foreign key, as I said before, it's really tough most of the time, but here with OGM, we are giving you the possibility to choose between the two modes. Basically, I think that embedded mode is better when you don't have a lot of updates on the embedded documents. And if you have a lot of updates to do on the embedded document, prefer the association mode. It will really be powerful, or more powerful. Any other questions? Yep. So the question is, do we have some figures about the performance between OGM and ORM? No, I don't have any right now. But basically, for the test I've done, we are, on my laptop, for instance, performance are quite the same between OGM with MongoDB and ORM with MySQL. Performance are quite the same. It depends, after that, for MongoDB, it will depend on the write concern, because if you said that, okay, there is no write concern, so you can, you won't wait for MongoDB, and so it will be faster. Any other questions? Okay, so we are most times up. If you have any question, I will be there all week long. So feel free to come and enjoy. Thank you.